Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful Sunday, and we're so glad that you're here to join us today for Sunday service on August 9th. We have a great service ahead for you. Elijah Christopher is joining us again, and he is always so inspiring. I am looking forward to what he has to say to us today. And we have Star, our practitioner Star, to do the Sacred Covenant. And practitioner Kelly is here to do our invocation. And of course, Cheryl, our a musical artist, is here to do music for you today. I saw a quote the other day that I'd like to share with you. It's by Thomas Merton. The beginning of love is the will to let those we love be perfectly themselves, the resolution not to twist them to fit our own image. If in loving them, we do not love what they are, but only their potential likeness to ourselves, then we do not love them. We only love the reflection of ourselves we find in them. Oh, touches me. Such a great message for all the things that are going on today. I would like to introduce and bring forward Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Rita. Hello. I love that quote. I love Thomas Merton.
It really touched my heart. Okay, we have some music from you ahead, and I look forward to hearing it. Take it away, girl.
Thanks, Rita. Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living St. George. Glad to be here with you. I'm going to go through this song, then we're going to have a prayer, and then I'm going to ask you to sing along. I
Good morning. So continuing in the I am, in the oneness of that one which creates and maintains and sustains all of life, the trees and the birds, the dolphins, the whales, each one of us individually, and all of us collectively. For that life, that love, is the perfection of that one. And in that, we ask, who are we? And the answer is, God is, I am. And so I consciously align with the divinity that is the very heart of who and what I am. And I let that divinity guide my steps, guide my words, guide my thoughts and actions, and know that this is the truth for each and every one of us. We come together in this space, we come together and we breathe together, we hear the words, we listen to the music, we participate with that. And we know that there truly is only one, and that we are part of that one. The hands, the hearts, the minds right here on the planet. And so we breathe into that knowingness, we breathe into that connection. And we call it good and very good. Knowing that this life that we are so very, very grateful for is truly God in action. And so we let it go, knowing it already is, that God is, I am. And we say together, and so it is.
So it is. Sorry about that, Kelly. That, of course, is our lovely practitioner, Kelly Capsar. And now you're going to see the words on screen, and I invite you to sing along and just absorb these words and the reality of who you are in God. To invite Star to read our sacred covenant today. Thank you, Star.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is our sacred covenant. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life, I know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which include the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to express God. I therefore know that my new minister reveals wholeness. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which we believe, for it is written, "Let us learn to draw the divine substance down into our own lives, and as freely as it has been given us, let us give it to others. Thus alone shall we be made whole." By Ernest Holmes. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as growing the center in joy and prosperity. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing the truth about myself, for I live the presence of the law of God. I demonstrate wisdom through a mature understanding of the wholeness of life. I am accountable and willing to take full responsibility for my actions. I participate in and support the nurturance and guidance of the community. I act from wholeness and congruence in thought, word, and action. I walk the talk. I embrace. Now express your personal truth here. Now I accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, knowing that they are revealed in a way that expresses God and serves the highest and greatest good for all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful, and so it is.
And so it is. So August is the month where we are focusing on inclusion in action. And this week, our theme is, who are we? So we're posing that question, and there's a quote that I've seen on social media numerous times. I couldn't find out who to attribute it to, but it's one of my favorite descriptions of who we are. It says, "You're a ghost driving a meat-coated skeleton made from stardust. What do you have to be scared of?" And of course, our we believe statements in Science of Mind philosophy, two of them address this issue as well. One of them says, we believe in the individualization of the Spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one Spirit. Another statement says, we believe that heaven is within us, and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. So yes, we're made of stardust, and yes, God is in us, and it's our responsibility to awaken to it. This is an original song that sort of flavors my experience with awakening to the divinity in me. On the brink of discovery, sensing a shift in reality, open to all the possibility, with a hope of a common thread. The journey long Namaste, everyone. Back to you, Marina.
Thank you, Cheryl. Oh my gosh, that was a beautiful song. So now I will introduce and bring forward Elijah Christopher. He is our speaker today, and I hope you've had a good morning so far, Elijah, and we're so happy to have you here. Can you hear me, Elijah?
Good morning. I really hope that you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mariana?
I can hear you. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Oh,
can.
good. My internet
All
seems
right.
a bit choppy at the moment, so I really hope that I'm here. Let's begin by taking a deep breath together. So if you will, take a deep breath in and let go. And if you will, with me, take another deep breath in and let go. Together, one more deep breath in and we let go. So I'm grateful to be back with you once again. And as I'm sure you know, the theme for the month across Centers for Spiritual Living is inclusion and action. And the sort of title or the theme or the conversation CSL wide for today is who we are. And as I've been contemplating this and as I've been churning this idea in my mind, the phrase keeps coming back to me not as who we are, but who are we? Who are we as a people, as a nation, as individuals, as a collective consciousness, as a movement of new thought and science of mind? Who are we? You know, this, as we look out into the world around us, and as we see all of that which is out picturing, we see the divisiveness, we see the separation, we see the movements, we see the rising up, we see the confusion, we see all that's taking place. And I believe that science of mind tells us that everything that we see out there is a reflection of what's going on in here. And I really believe that there are many layers that are coming through us of the mind, of our collective consciousness, of our individual consciousness, that it's all the overlapping layers that create. And that there's overlapping worlds that are creating our sort of shared reality. And if everything that I'm seeing in the world is a projection of not only myself, but our internal collective consciousness, when I look out into the world, I have to ask the question, who are we? Like, what are we creating? What is going on? Because everywhere I look, there's something that is unraveling. There's something that is up to be looked at. There's something that seems not to be working. There's something that is due for change. Everywhere I look, there is radical transformation really almost being begged for in every arena and area of life and society. And so I keep asking myself, who are we? Who are we to be creating this collective experience? And I've been really looking at the idea recently that each one of us exists on a multitude of levels. You know, I'm a big fan of the Fear to Faith work by Marcia Sutton that we teach in a lot of our classes and Centers for Spiritual Living. And in her model, you know, she says that there's 4 ways of experiencing the world and that we all exist in these 4 layers, these 4 worlds all the time. And that first and foremost, there is the world that happens to us. There's our circumstances. There's what we're born into. There's our bodies. There's the environment. There's a lot that's happening to us all the time. And then there's the world that's happening by us, that which is created by our thinking and by our choice and our participation. And then there's the world that's coming through us, and that's the collective consciousness. That's history. That's our deep beliefs and our underlying programming. And then there's the world that happens as us. And that is God, that is life, that is the universe, that is consciousness. And science of mind tells us to really focus and recognize that who are we? Who are we? We are God. We are that layer of consciousness that is pure spirit, and that we are the creator of the universe manifested into this form, that we are oneness, that we are connection. But I tell you that is our base truth, and that is our base connection point. But below that is, again, is that world that's coming through us. And what's coming through right now is all of our unlooked at stuff, all of the subjective, all of the collective, all of the sort of built up internal worlds of our individual selves overlapping with all the other individuals on the planet and throughout history. And all that is manifesting as the world around us. And it's up to each one of us to really do the internal digging, because if what we're seeing in the world is a manifestation of our collective, and it's a projection of our individual consciousness overlapping, then if we need to fix what's projecting out there, we have to start in here. We have to start by looking at the worlds within and recognizing that there's much work to be done. If we look into the world and we see it as a mess, guess what? There's a whole mess to be cleaned up inside. You know, we've been looking at Black Lives Matter. We've been looking at the movements rising up and looking at systemic oppression and racism in the world. We've been having a lot of big conversations in Centers for Spiritual Living and nationally. And right now, across CSL in the month of August, there are many, many, many circles, many groups being facilitated of individuals moving through the book, Me and White Supremacy, and really recognizing there's this great big collective issue that all of our individual minds have been participating in on some level. Let's come together and do some cleanup on the inside and look at the ways that perhaps we have been unconsciously helping to promote the world that's showing up right now. And I'll tell you, my friends, as I've been going through this book and answering these questions and listening to this internal dialogue that's been going on inside of myself, as I read through Me and White Supremacy and I answer those questions, I keep looking back, I keep asking myself the question, who are you? Who am I? Who are we? That we have so much unchurned, unexamined, unaware blind spots within ourselves that are actually projecting and creating the world that is then happening to other people. And so the cleanup work is to be done in mind. The cleanup work is to be done on both ends, really. But that if we see the world in a state that we don't feel is perfect and that we feel needs some change, then each one of us has to start to examine how we are the root of that, and how whatever circumstances we're seeing in the world are coming from us. And that's a huge job. And it's also kind of scary. And it's also opens up a whole lot of stuff. You know, my friends, when we really take the willingness to look at our stuff, it can be intense. It can be scary. Many of us have parts of ourselves that we don't want to look at. Many of us, when we start to look at how we've participated in systemic oppression and racism, or how our choices and the impact of our choices have affected the environment or people and other nations, when we actually start to recognize the impact of our actions and the consequences of our unconsciousness, we end up with a lot to unpack. And I believe that if we want to build a world that works for everyone, if we want to move into an emergent future where we begin to see the world that we want to see, where we begin to participate in the unfoldment of a reality that actually works for everyone, we have to recognize that it's projecting from us, and that each one of us has to participate in the cleanup internally so that the collective experience can begin to change. And when the collective mind changes, then what manifests on the physical plane changes. Then the experiences that trickle out from the subjective and the objective and the unconscious and the subconscious, that all that starts to trickle out from there when we do the cleanup work starts to manifest as something new, as something beautiful, and as something different. You know, as I've been thinking about this idea that there are worlds within worlds within worlds inside of each one of us. You know, Michael Beckwith says that we all live on the same planet, but each one of us live in our own individual world. And that the world is made up of mostly what's inside of you. And then based on that, you interact with what's outside of you. And thinking of this, it's fascinating to me because the divisiveness of the world around us right now really seems to want to focus on the otherness of individuals and really pointing at single ideas of who people are. You know, our nation is becoming more and more divided politically. And many times, if we have a left perspective, we think of all the people on the right as being part of a certain kind of thinking. Or if we have a right side perspective, we think of all of those people on the left who think that way. And anytime we lump all of those people into one group, we've suddenly forgotten that each person is a vast world to be explored, made up of thousands of experiences and ideas and potentials and possibilities, and that the uniqueness of each individual has so much to offer the world. And, Ken Wilber says that no human mind is capable of 100% error. No one is capable of being 100% wrong. And Ernest Holmes looked at the world and said, there's a little bit of truth in every perspective. And if we actually want to look for the truth, if we actually want to look for possibility, if we actually want to figure out how to bridge the divide of otherness, if we actually want to figure out how to build a society, a nation, a culture, a world that works and is sustainable for individuals and for life, then we actually have to start figuring, how can we begin to work together? How can we begin to explore each other and stop otherizing each other as being, oh, you're on the left, or you're on the right, or you're black and you're white, or you're an immigrant, or you were born in this country, or you're rich, or you're poor? Oftentimes, those labels divide us so deeply. And yet it's so incredibly important to acknowledge those differences and to recognize that those differences are openings for us to explore the other, because the other is different than us. And in the difference, we can recognize that God, that the universe, that the foaming forth of possibility is actually living and breathing behind the eyes of every human being, in the mind of every person. And if we are willing to almost engage in this paradox of stop labeling whole groups of people as one thing and start looking for the unique difference and individuality and variety and magic that lives within each individual person. Get to know someone who you may label as an other that is different than you, and start to explore the vast world that exists within inside of them by asking the questions, by getting to know them, by sharing in your humanity. And when we begin to explore each other's differences and examine that which lives and breathes inside of each other, I guarantee you that on some beautiful way, the more we examine the difference, the closer together we come. The more we find our commonalities, our humanity, our sameness. And if we're willing to even go deeper than that, that we find the universe, that we find God, that we find ourselves reflected back at us. And so what a beautiful paradox it is to think of this recipe saying, stop lumping all individuals into groups and labeling them left, right, or this or that. And start asking what exists in the individual mind of the person in front of you. And delve in to the possibility that lives within them, and recognize that the possibility that lives within them is the same possibility that lives within us. And that when we start to coalesce and come together, we realize we have more in common, and that it is our difference and our variety that offers beautiful perspective to each other. And I believe that we need each other's perspectives. That what if both sides are half right all the time? What if we actually need to be able to work through our differences so we can find how our pieces fit together? That we have some sifting to do, some conversations to have, some deep work to engage in. And it's the individual cleanup on the individual level, and being willing to explore the unconscious layers that exist within each one of us, and start poking around in there and asking those questions and participating in the book club or the study group or the conversations that really allow us to look ourselves look at ourselves deeply, look at all the different hallways and corners and burial grounds in our minds where there's things that we don't even know are there, that are actually manifesting, that are showing up, that are creating the world around us, and so much of it's unconscious. And yet it requires our deep participation, and it requires us to really look. And then on the flip side, begin to look into the otherness that is out in the world, that is around us, that is other people, and begin to explore the depth of their minds. You know, there's an individual who, unfortunately, his name is escaping me right now, but if you look him up, he has shows on Netflix. You can see him on YouTube. There's a man, he's a black man who travels around the country and has been befriending and working with and going to KKK rallies out of this pursuit to understand the human being behind the hood, in a sense, and has sat down with multiple individuals across the country, grand dragons and masters of the KKK, have befriended and been willing to explore the world within inside of another human being, because this man approached them saying, I want to know who you are. I want to know why you think what you think. I want to know what makes you tick, what makes you believe what you believe. And in doing so, breaking down the divide of otherness. And this individual has a collection of the robes of members of the KKK who have left the organization because of their friendship with this man. And I wish I could remember his name right now, but if you look up this story, Google it, there's Netflix as well, you'll find something if you want to explore that story. But it's just an example to show that when we actually are willing to look at someone or something that we disagree with and actually ask why, not to prove them wrong, but ask why to understand. What if we look in the world, we look into ourselves, we look into each other, and we start asking why? Really, who are you? Who am I? Who are we? So that we can discover together that who we are, each one of us, is necessary. That who we are, each one of us, is life, is evolution, is humanity, is God, is creation happening right here, right now. And I believe that there is a picture, there is a world, there is a vision that is seeking to emerge on planet Earth. In Centers for Spiritual Living, we've been declaring a vision of a world that works for everyone. And I truly believe that every single person is holding a piece of that puzzle. And that the only way we're ever going to figure out how to put our pieces together is to break down the divide of otherness, begin to seek out difference, begin to look for the depth of the power and the magic and the majesty of the worlds that exist within each individual person. Ask why, ask who, delve deeply into the eyes of the other, into the eyes of possibility, and into the eyes of ourselves, so that we can truly figure out who we are. And from that place, claim a new future, claim a new possibility, move forward with potential, and build a world that works for everyone, that includes all people. So look at yourself, look at the world, look into the eyes of an other, and ask, who are you? And so if you will, take a deep breath in. And if it's comfortable, close your eyes. As we just breathe together in this moment of awareness, first and foremost recognizing here and now that there is only one life, that this life is God, that this life is infinite, that this life is ever present, ever foaming forth as the newness of the universe, the multiverse, the multiplicity of all things. That there is one thing living and breathing throughout every particle, every planet, every plant, every person, that all possibility is God. And so I recognize here and now that there is a power for good in this universe that is greater than I am, and it is breathing me. It is breathing the body of every person who is hearing these words. It is breathing all of life. that all things are breathed by God, that breath itself is the rise and fall of Spirit moving through us. And so let each one of us be breathed by God in everything that we do, recognizing that there is a vast universe inside of our minds, and that each one of us must begin the process of exploring the worlds within, of plumbing our subconscious, of looking at our unawarenesses, and bringing forth new vision into light, and looking out into the world, looking into what is wrong, looking into what is possible, looking into what is necessary, looking for possibility, and looking into the eyes of the other, and seeing the vastness that lives within the mind of each human being, and letting our diversity, our variety, and our difference lead us to our connection, our sameness, and our oneness. And so let us be grateful that we live in an infinite universe of possibility. And the time is now for us to choose, for us to focus, for us to be the place of awareness that calls the universe forth where we are looking. And so let us look, and let us ask, who are we? As we remember that who we are is God itself, is the universe, is life, is evolution. And so let us just surrender and let go to that power for good in the universe that is greater than we are, and allow it to simply move through us, to live as us in every moment. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Elijah. Oh, again, you never disappoint. I had to breathe deep in order to sit with all the things that you said. I saw that KKK story that you were talking about, and it is powerful. I encourage you all to take his lead and watch that. Thank you for being here today. Okay, everybody. Oh my gosh. So I have this quote. You'd think that it's taken right out of Elijah's talk that I would like to share with you just in closing before we do the announcements. It's by Kat Colella Graham. Creating a culture of inclusion starts with creating a culture of awareness. I liken self-awareness strategy to having a full-length mirror. Keep checking yourself in that mirror because the success of inclusion depends on the authenticity of your leadership. Seems that's calling us all to be leaders in our lives, whether that's in our families or in our congregations or in our work or whatever. May we all be authentic leaders moving forward. Okay, I want to remind you that we encourage you to contribute financially to our community so that we can keep providing you online services while we manifest a new minister in our lives and manifest togetherness and wholeness in the world around us. It will take, as Elijah was saying, it will take all of us to make a change and to make a difference. Don't forget that we are meeting via Zoom after service. And we hope that you will join us. The link to that is in your newsletter and also on Facebook. And I believe that Elijah is joining us today for that. So if you have questions about his talk or reactions, I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Also, our community care circle is functioning. So if you need some support through calls or cards or prayer, in conjunction also with creating prayer requests. I'm sure you noticed that we had the announcement slides rotating at the beginning of service while we're waiting to go live. I hope that was helpful to you. We have a team working to improve service, so we're working hard to provide you information and inspiration, and hope that it is working for you. So let's close with our typical closing affirmation. I will read it out loud, and I hope you'll read with me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do. I am it. I embrace it, and I share it, just the way that it is, and just the way that it's becoming. Thank you, life. I'm so grateful you are here today. I hope you got many things out of our beautiful service, the music, Elisha's talk, and our ongoing sharing of our sacred covenant to bring in the perfect minister who's out there waiting for us. Have a blessed week, and I hope we'll see you next Sunday. And next Sunday's theme is Better Together. Have a blessed day and a blessed week.